In this video, we're going to unpack how to effectively coach your team in a virtual environment. Hi everyone, I'm Taylor, working with SGEI's Training and Communications team. The purpose of this short video is to give you some practical tips and ideas for leading remote teams in a virtual world. The world has changed, and our lives, both at home and at work, in many ways have been forever changed. For many, leading virtual or remote teams is not new. For others, leading in a virtual environment may be a new challenge. And even for those with some experience leading people remotely, leading people during this pandemic, and even in the months and years to follow, will be an entirely new challenge. See, we believe leadership is the ability to connect with and inspire the hearts and minds of your employees to want to do what you want them to do and to perform at their very best. The reality is, in today's world, especially in a virtual environment, staying connected to those you lead, as well as your coworkers, colleagues, friends, and even your family members, will become more important than ever. In their book, Primal Leadership, Daniel Goleman and Richard Boyces point to research that says 70% of employees perceive the climate of their organization to be traced to the actions of their immediate manager. This is especially true in a virtual environment. Working with leaders and organizations all over the world, we've learned what we call the 5 C's of virtual leadership. Here they are: collaborate, communicate, coach, care, and celebrate. We found that when leaders lean in to their opportunity and responsibility to fulfill each of these leadership behaviors, a 6th C, and in many ways, the most important one, tends to take care of itself, and that is connection. Whether we're in person or in a virtual world, leadership is still about connecting with hearts and minds. Without connection, leaders will forever fight an uphill battle. In this video, we're going to unpack how to effectively coach your team in a virtual environment. What we find, and I'm sure you may be thinking, is coaches are going to coach regardless of the situation, remote, virtual, or in person. And you can be that type of coach for your team in a virtual environment as well. The best leaders, in fact, are great coaches. So even though the world and in many ways our ways of working have changed, the same behaviors that made great coaches great before are the same behaviors that make them great in a virtual environment. So here's what we know. Great coaches do the following. They have informal coaching conversations along the way with those they lead. They provide timely and personal recognition. They empower those on their teams who they know excel in certain areas. They enable their teams with support, and they really support their performance. And they have tough conversations, and they make tough decisions when they have to. See, we believe performance coaching is critical for any employee to elevate their performance and maximize their talents. Performance coaching includes a combination of conversations and activities to reinforce and improve the behaviors and skills. So giving feedback on performance. This is the feedback on what is being delivered as well as how the work is being accomplished is still very necessary. In remote teams, the remote teams that we've worked with, we found that while they had recordings and data and feedback on how a remote employee was utilizing their time, interacting with customers, and completing projects, we found that a lot of times they weren't timely or specific in their feedback. So this took away from the effectiveness of their conversations. So what we want to do is we want to remind managers and leaders that the key tenets of feedback, timeliness, balance, being specific, and asking questions are important no matter where your workforce resides. Recognition is such an essential part of coaching to reinforce the right behaviors and results. So a recognition platform is an excellent tool to help facilitate all your recognition, but it shouldn't be used exclusively. So we use the say, write, do model to ensure that we consider all the different ways to recognize somebody. Remember that people process information differently. Some are visual, while others are more auditorily inclined, and they prefer to hear or listen to information coming in, and others are more kinesthetic in nature, with a preference for experiencing or processing things by doing. So here's some ways to say your recognition. This includes saying thank you and giving praise in a Zoom call, FaceTime, Google Meets, personal phone call, in a daily virtual huddle to kick off the day. How about for visual folks, you can write your recognition with emails and text messages, handwritten notes, a lost art, the handwritten note, even social media. A simple like, comment, or share of a piece of content, social media content that your employees may have put out can go a long way with just one click of the mouse from you. And then to do your recognition, this incorporates ideas like getting in there and taking some tasks away from your employees and maybe some things that you know they aren't so fond of, offering to do that for them from time to time, sending them a gift card to their favorite coffee shop or lunch location nearby, and then empowering your high performers, giving clear expectations and letting go, trusting them before you know you can. Let them own a project or initiative or a task. Allow them to make decisions on their own so they begin to develop as the leader, future leader in your organization. And then you can showcase their talents even in a virtual world. Next is enabling your team. Consistently and constantly seek to understand what your team needs from you. Seek to understand what information do they need, what tools do they need in this virtual world that may be different from what they're used to, and what level of support or additional training can you provide them to set them up for success, being a servant leader for them. Don't forget that tough conversations, especially right now, also have got to keep happening, even in a virtual world. So don't put off conversations about poor performance. Otherwise, it impacts the entire team through a lack of effort, results, or participation from them when you don't address the problems that are arising. Think about these conversations as opportunities instead of obligations. This will help increase accountability and strengthen your relationships at the same time. See, if we shy away from tough coaching conversations, we're not doing that individual any favors. So set these up via Zoom, FaceTime, and Google Meet, and simply dive right in. Engage in the really meaningful, old-fashioned conversations. Share the feedback, which may be tough to deliver for you right now and tough for them to hear in the moment on that Zoom call, but you may be surprised. You may be surprised if you're serving your people, listening to their concerns, offering them feedback, guidance, and support, not to mention recognizing them when they do a great job, you will have earned the right to have these tough accountability conversations with people on your team, so to keep them headed in the right direction. So all of us get stronger every single time we face a challenge or spend some time getting uncomfortable outside of our comfort zones. So be the leader who helps your people get comfortable getting uncomfortable. They'll grow because of it. Finally, as we all know, great coaches understand that sometimes they have to make tough decisions. If problems are not dealt with, the results could be widespread gossip going throughout your remote team and your organization, loss of productivity among your highest performers if they see you not taking care of the issues that are happening throughout. You can see dips in morale as others are upholding your company values while delivering results, unlike the problem employees that you are letting slide. So take a few seconds right now and ask yourself, which of these practice tips and tactics for leading in a virtual world make the most sense for you to implement in the coming days or weeks to help you inspire more connection with your team and among those you lead, despite the social and physical distance between them. As we wrap up our conversation on coaching in a virtual world, We can agree that leaders can still be effective coaches for their teams in a virtual world because it's all about executing across the same set of leadership behaviors. Informal feedback given along the way, meaningful recognition, giving people the information, tools, and support, even if it's via Zoom or FaceTime, that they need to be successful, and then having those tough conversations and making tough decisions along the way. Hang on to this quote. A good coach can change a game, but a great coach can change a life. That's one of the greatest coaches of all time, John Wooden, 11-time national champion and former head basketball coach of the UCLA Bruins. Thank you so much for watching, and we wish you health and happiness as you continue on your journey. We'll see you next time.